So the movie begins in 1950. We see a couple in a deserted place who were busy talking and having fun in their car. Then the girl hears the news on the radio. A hookman, a man with a hook, who roams around and kills people. There is a hook instead of a hand. Hearing this, the girl gets scared and tells her husband that we should leave from here. This is a very deserted place, because she felt as if someone was around them, but her husband doesn't listen to her. Now the girl was even more scared and tells her husband to leave from here. I told you that I don't feel good. Now her husband listened to her and brought the car to another place. As soon as he comes out, he lost his mind because there was a hook stuck in their car. That means they left from that deserted place at the right time. Otherwise, they would have been killed because the killer hookman had reached them, but they left from there at the right time. Now the story comes to the present. We see four friends who were having fun in a car. Suddenly they have an accident. Among those four friends, a boy Cliff. He had two female friends and a brother. Now in the beginning of the film, we saw the story of the couple who ran away from the hookman. Actually, Cliff was telling this story to his friends, and because he didn't pay attention properly, their car had an accident. Cliff tells his female friends, "Look, the car in which we had an accident, it didn't even see us and just left." Anyway, they all set on fire and sit in the middle of the road. They also see a ruin nearby, which was an old church from centuries. Now they sat after setting on fire and started reading the newspaper, from which they come to know that two people were killed here, along with a hook. But the killer could not be found yet. To spend time, they didn't know what they were talking about, because their car was completely destroyed, and in the middle of the night, they could not even go back home. So Cliff tells his friends, "Let me tell you a story. A couple who went on their honeymoon in their van. Their van was just like a house, in which everything was present. They made a mistake that in the middle of the night, they stopped their van in the jungle. Then a man came to them. Who says that you did not do well by coming here? They will kill you." Who set out on their hunt in the full moon night. The husband asks, "Who are you talking about?" That man was actually talking about a werewolf here. That man tells that couple that one night my wife's car stopped here like this. But after that, my wife could not be found, and neither her car. This man came to take revenge on those wolves with a big gun. Says that I have seen their footprints outside your van. So if you are in any danger, then close your van properly and stay in the same place until morning. Both the husband and wife were not afraid of his words. In fact, they were afraid of him. Now they go back to their van, and they started going from here. But then they see that the fuel in their van is over. The husband says that I had filled the tank. How is this possible? He was now suspecting that man who had told them about the werewolf. He thinks that he must have done all this. But the werewolf had caught that poor man and pulls him from under the car. The werewolf had killed him by pulling him under his car. And in a terribly dangerous way, he cuts him into pieces. Here the couple whose van was out of fuel thought, what should they do now? Presently? Around then, the spouse's foot was likewise harmed. Husband says that you stay here. I will go out and find the corner store. Presently when he goes out by walking, he had arrived at a similar man's vehicle who had educated them concerning the werewolf. He takes a gander at his vehicle and thinks, why not take some fuel from his vehicle? Presently when he was going to do this, then he slips and falls. The man's jaw adheres to his shoulder. He had slipped there because of blood. That man was eaten by the werewolf. Husband sees this and comprehends. That man was telling the truth to them. Now when he starts going from here, then the wolf comes from behind, had also caught him. The wolf strangles him, due to which his voice had stopped. The husband runs fast and goes to the door of his van and started knocking loudly, but his wife does not open the door. She was scared because he himself had said, if I knock at the door 3 times, then you understand that I am, and open the door. But now because of his own fear, he was knocking at the door loudly. His wife gets a little confused. Should she open the door or not? Then from the top of the van, the werewolf had caught his wife's hair. She tries to get rid of him, and she hits him with a sharp rod. After a while, the werewolf was trying to come inside the window from there, but once again, she poured paper spray on his face. And in the van, she had set an alarm, and she was unconscious. In the morning, and she gets her senses, a policeman came to her. He was taking her out of the van and says, don't look behind. But she looked behind and was surprised to see she was in shock because the werewolf had killed her husband and hung him upside down, and the ring in his hand was rubbing against the van's top door. Actually, when at night, when she did not open the door because of fear, then her husband was there. If she had opened the door, then he would have been alive today. Now, with this fact, she will spend all her life. She wished that she had opened the door that day. She will hear the sound of that ring all her life. Here Cliff ends his first story, that's why he hears someone's voice here. Only he could hear that voice. The rest of the three did not hear that voice. When he looks at his watch to see the time, it was also broken due to an accident, and the time was also stopped. Then Cliff tells the next story, which was about a little girl. Today she was 12 years old. In her family, she has a mom, dad, and an elder sister. A very cute dog also lived with her. That girl tells her dad, "This time, I want to cycle on my birthday." After hearing this, her dad do not promise her. He says, "Let's see. Today there was a meeting in her school, so that's why her parents go there," leaving her with her elder sister. This girl made a friend on the internet, whose name was Jessica, about whom she never told her parents. Now her sister too goes to party tonight with her friends. That girl was now alone at home. Now she tells this to her friend Jessica, with whom she used to chat on the web. Subsequent to hearing this, she became disconnected. Really, Jessica was not a young lady, but rather a chronic executioner who used to befriend young ladies and used to trap and kill them. That executioner had a ton of data about that young lady. He was keeping an eye on her for quite a while. Presently, when he heard that she is distant from everyone else at home, he began planning to kill her. She was playing with a ball in the nursery. That is the point at which her ball fell in the brambles. Meanwhile, the killer had also reached her house. Now when she wants to take the ball in the bushes, so the killer tries to catch her by the hair, but she got the ball, and she takes it away. She came inside and locked the door too. Now the killer, with the door from her dog's entrance, tries to put his hand and open the lock, but he could not open it. After a lot of attempts, he came inside the garage through a window. The little girl took her dog to her room and started sleeping. She used to make her dog sleep under her bed and put her hand down, and her dog used to lick her hand with his tongue. After a while, when she opens her eyes, her dog was not under the bed. She goes to the garage to find him, where she sees her new cycle, which her dad had hidden. She is very happy to see this. Suddenly the light was also gone from there. When the little girl got scared and came up, there was her elder sister, who came back from the party. Now she goes back to her room, where she sees her dog's leg under the bed. She lies down and puts her hand down so that her dog can lick her hand. Then her eyes go to the glass, on which something was written. Actually, the killer was licking her hand, who was in her room. When the little girl gets scared and comes out, when she calls her sister, both of them sit and look down. There was a dead body of the dog, whom the killer killed and gone. Actually, he came to kill the little girl, and he was never caught. Cliff says this was my second story. Now the third story is told by Cliff's female friend. She says the name of my story is The Locket. This story is of a boy who was very fond of adventures. One day, he took his bike and went out. Suddenly his bike was damaged. He sees a house in front of him, in which a girl used to live, who could not speak. She writes on the board with chalk and talks to that boy. She says, "I live here with my dad." He praises the locket worn around her neck and asks her, "What can I do for you?" That girl gives him a bucket and says, "Go and get water." When a boy goes to take water from the well, he sees there is a man outside the well who was throwing something inside it and suddenly disappeared. The boy is very scared after seeing this. Anyway, he came inside the house. When he goes to that girl, then her dad comes. The girl had gone from there. After a while, the boy started hearing screams. Then the girl also comes to him. He tells her, "I just heard screams, and I saw a man outside the well who disappeared suddenly." The girl tells him by writing, "There is a ghost here." The boy got scared hearing this and says, "You come with me. Why are you living here? Pack your stuff. We will go somewhere else." When the boy comes to pick up the girl, he sees blood all over the house. There were 2 dead bodies there. When he comes out, he sees the girl's dad was throwing someone's head in the well. Then he himself jumps into the well. Then the girl comes to him. She tells him by writing that 2 men died here. Then her dad comes again, who was a ghost or a human. Now the boy holds an axe and kills the girl's dad's feet. After that, he took her away from there. The boy took the girl away from her house when the girl was sleeping in his lap. Then the boy takes off her locket and sees the picture in it, which was of that boy and of this girl. The boy gets shocked after seeing this and thinks, "I just met her a few days ago. So how is my picture in her locket?" Then the girl wakes up. Then suddenly her head was cut off and was separated. Actually, one night when this girl's dad came home, he saw both of them together, because of which the girl's dad killed both of them and his daughter. That is, he cut the girl's head and threw it in the well. After that, all of them became ghosts. The boy was born again. He was born again in the world and met that girl again. That is the girl's ghost. And maybe that boy is stuck in a time loop, which will continue like this. When the female friend finishes her story, Then Cliff hears the sound of police in the ambulance. When he runs to them, he sees that he was alone. His friends were not with him. When he goes back and sees there was fire, but he doesn't have any friends there. All 3 were missing. The reason for this was that all 3 of them were dead. Cliff himself sees his own body, which doctors were trying to save, while his other 3 friends were dead. Actually, all 4 of them died at the same time. When they had an accident, the souls of these 4 were together when there were chances of their survival. But now the decision of 3 had been made. Cliff was left. We see that the car in which he had an accident, it was actually the same couple's car, which he had imagined in his story. That is, he had thought about them. The nurse and the doctor were those. The story of the boy and the girl we have just seen. We see that Cliff is also dead. Then he now goes to his friends. All 4 souls were together. Cliff says sorry to them, that all this happened because of him. If he had driven the car carefully, then all 4 of them would have been alive today. The police were taking their bodies. That's when we see a car coming from the front, in which was the same killer Hookman, whom we had seen at the beginning of the story. Why did he come? Was he really a killer? This remains a question, and with this, our story of this film also ends here.